Hi, this is Samantha Clark, and I'm reviewing the 3SB lesson plan. So for starters, we have the opportunity here to say that this is one of multiple lessons, but it can contain multiple activities that have different objectives and goals for a unit. And we would list all of that up here, stating how long this lesson will be, because sometimes it might be multiple days. And we need the person that's going to be looking at our lesson plan to know what the overall unit and period in the classroom will look like. So first we have our central focus of the unit, and there are three categories here. So I'm actually going to start with the content focus, because if we look at this word content, that specifically is referring to what the students are going to get out of the lesson. For instance, right now we're doing one on secondhand smoke. So what will they be able to do with that content? So a central literacy strategy focus that has to do more so with the objectives that the students will learn about literacy, what they will improve on, and related skills, so skills that support the use of the strategy. What other skills will they obtain in order to accomplish this or because of this throughout the lesson? So standards, these are just copy and pasted from the Common Core standards for us California. And usually you don't want to have too many per lesson because you want to make sure that we are focusing on essential skills for the students, and we can't necessarily do that if we have a bunch of objectives, just like we read in Schmoker. So instructional learning objectives, what students will be able to do as a result of this lesson, and these should align with the central focus, so we don't want to get off topic. We want the central focus to remain the focus throughout. And the assessments, how will you assess each of these? Will it be informal? Is it a thumbs up, thumbs down? Is it formal? Are they turning in something to show that they have accomplished this objective? So language function, this is usually an active verb. Like for me, it's English. So if the whole point is that they're going to make an argument, then they will learn to argue. And the additional language demands are more content related. So what are they learning? So is it going to be academic words that they're going to use throughout schooling to be able to transfer to use in other cases? Or is this access vocabulary? Are there words in the content that they might not understand beforehand and they need to know them before going into the lesson? Also, syntax or discourse. Is the language very formal and complex, so it's difficult for them to read? That needs to be addressed. Resources and materials. So this is any handouts, any technology they might need, because some schools have more technology than others. Student prior knowledge, so this is background knowledge. What did they already know in their lives and in the classroom before? You can incorporate the knowledge that they've had from previous learning. We're looking more for academic knowledge, but sometimes there's relational knowledge that can be incorporated into a content. And what about the previous lesson or units in their class are going to help them with this activity? So this is how you will transition students. So introduction, anticipatory set. And how you will get the students focused on the content. So we see hook here. I guess it's a form of entertainment. Get students interested and engaged, as that's mostly on the instructor because we don't want to be teaching something that students don't necessarily care about. And focused instruction. So this is the modeling perspective, showing students how to do it. We need to make sure that we have differentiation and scaffolds per activity, major activity. Guided instruction. This is the students starting to do it on their own, but still with the support of the learning environment and the instructor, again with scaffolding. And independent practice. What will they be able to do on their own because of this lesson? And then closure. How will you bring this lesson to a close? So now we're going to go over and look at an example. This example was shown to us a couple weeks ago by Amelia Ortega, and this is a poetry journal. So we're going to look at a few things here. As we see, duration of the lesson, 90 minutes. So this is likely the length of the class period. And then let's hop in. So we'll see here, like I mentioned, the content focus. Students will be completing poetry journals for this unit. For the first poem, see, this is the content. We need to make sure that they're getting something out of the content, not just skills. And then students will begin their poems and paragraphs. So related skills and essential literacy strategy focus. The main focus is they will annotate, analyze, compose their own poetry. And then related skills, things that they will do along the way. So not necessarily the main focus, but there are additional skills that they will learn. And these strategies have been copy and pasted like they should be. We see that they're from various areas here. Some are literature and some are writing. And then as we get in, students will identify, so this is this verb here, explain, and then create their own poem. So these are major things that they will be able to do, and there's the formal assessments that we can do to assure that students have learned these, and informal. So student annotation isn't necessarily a test or an essay or a composure, but it can definitely show you that students are making progress. Then here we see the identify and analyze that is shown in the objectives. Those are the language functions that they will be learning how to do. And the vocabulary, these are content focused, so tier 3 words, they won't necessarily use outside of English class, but they will need to use as they continue on throughout their formal writing education. In discourse, poem, not everyone may know how to do this, how to write a poem or analyze a paragraph. And this is all the technology that they will need to use and the handouts. And she made sure to address their prior knowledge. They can refer back to slides from a previous activity they did in her class. And also, one thing that I could add here is maybe the content of Still I Rise could be connected to what they need as well to get them interested. Transition from the previous activity, she prefaced the class in order to get into this. And then her hook was the value of learning poetry. Again, we could probably talk about the content. Many students felt connected to the themes in Angelou's poem because of their own struggles or cultural backgrounds. So this is a way to hook students into getting interested in poetry and learning how to achieve poetry writing and analysis. So this is a great example of focusing instruction. So she's modeling it for the students so they aren't intimidated going into it. And she addressed how she has some English learners and IEPs, and the differentiation was scaffolds, which are always a key one for students who need assistance in learning. And again, here's some guided practice. So as they began to work on the poetry journals, they were allowed to talk to one another. So getting help from each other in the classroom is a great way to have guided practice. As the instructor walks around is probably a good thing to add here. The students had digital copies of the poetry journal instructions and template on Google Classroom. Great, so this is another example of scaffolding and examples. And then independent practice. She provided students opportunities to master what she was teaching them by giving them time in class, which is honestly essential in English classes. And she closed the lesson by asking students how they were progressing. So kind of an informal assessment and reminding them of their homework. But another thing that you could do here is bring the theme and the content to a close. So that is an example of our lesson plan that we will be doing in this class and throughout the Credential program and the TPA. Thank you so much.